They say the body whispers before it screams. And yet, most of us have trained ourselves to ignore those whispers, brushing them off as just a passing thing or probably nothing serious. But sometimes, those seemingly small signs are your body's way of waving a red flag, a signal that something deeper is happening, something that, if left unaddressed, could grow louder, more dangerous, even life-threatening. In a world where we're constantly pushing ourselves, working longer hours, skipping meals, sacrificing sleep, we've become masters at tuning out discomfort, numb to the cues that should stop us in our tracks. It's only when things escalate, when the pain becomes unbearable or the fatigue feels like a crushing weight, that we start paying attention. And sometimes by then, it's too late. This video isn't about fear, it's about awareness. Because being informed isn't just empowering, it can be life-saving. Over the next few minutes, we'll uncover 5 red flags your body might be trying to raise. Signs that many people miss, overlook, or dismiss entirely. You won't find exaggerated stories or miracle solutions here, just the truth, wrapped in something we all recognize, the undeniable language of the human body. It often starts with fatigue, but not the kind that follows a long day at work or a sleepless night. This fatigue is relentless. It lingers even after a full night's rest, creeping into your bones, turning every task, even the simple ones, into a monumental effort. You wake up feeling just as tired as when you went to bed. Walking upstairs feels like a workout. Concentration slips away like sand through your fingers. You might think it's stress, burnout, maybe age. And sure, those are all possibilities. But when fatigue becomes a constant companion, when it drains the color from your life and steals the energy you once took for granted, it could be something much more serious, like anemia, thyroid dysfunction, heart disease, or even early-stage cancer. These conditions often masquerade as just tiredness in the early days, slowly worsening over time. Your body's energy systems are finely tuned. When something interferes with them, the result is fatigue that feels different. It's not just sleepiness. It's like your body is running on empty, and no amount of rest seems to refuel you. When you feel that way for weeks, it's time to listen. Another red flag can arrive silently, hidden in your bathroom, invisible in the mirror. Changes in bowel habits. A shift so subtle you might not notice it at first. Maybe constipation that lasts longer than usual. Maybe your stool looks different, thinner, darker, or oddly colored. Maybe there's blood, even just a streak. You might chalk it up to something you ate or a temporary stomach bug. But then it doesn't go away. The digestive system is a remarkable machine, but it's also sensitive to the smallest internal disturbances. Persistent changes in bowel movements can be an early signal of colon cancer, inflammatory bowel disease, celiac disease, or gastrointestinal infections. And often these changes are the first and sometimes only symptoms in the early stages. We rarely talk openly about these things. There's embarrassment, shame, but the silence around them can be deadly. Because when it comes to gut health, the earlier you investigate, the more options you have, and the better the outcome. That streak of blood, that prolonged constipation, that unexplained diarrhea, it's your body asking you to pay attention. Then there's weight loss, seemingly unintentional, even welcome for some. You step on the scale and notice the numbers dropping. At first, it feels like a victory. Maybe you've been eating healthier, moving a little more, but then the weight keeps dropping. Even without changes to your routine, even when you're eating more to try and counter it. Sudden, unexplained weight loss, especially if it's more than 5% of your body weight in a short period, can be a loud alarm bell. It's one of the classic signs of cancer, especially cancers of the pancreas, stomach, esophagus, or lungs. But it can also signal diabetes, chronic infections, thyroid issues, or malabsorption disorders. It might start subtly, pants fitting looser, cheeks looking hollow, belts needing extra holes. But those signs add up. Weight loss without trying is never just weight loss. It's a red flag waving behind the curtain. The body is efficient. It doesn't shed pounds without a reason. Whether it's a metabolic issue, hormonal imbalance, or something more sinister, unexplained weight loss should always spark a deeper look. Next is pain. Not the sharp, fleeting pain of a stubbed toe or sore muscle. This is pain that persists. Pain that returns night after night. Pain that doesn't seem to come from any obvious source. Maybe it's in the back, deep and aching. Maybe it's in the chest, a tightness, a pressure, a discomfort that you hope is just indigestion. Maybe it's headaches that grow more frequent, more intense, and less responsive to medication. Pain is a signal, not a nuisance. Chronic, unexplained pain can be a symptom of nerve damage, autoimmune conditions, chronic infections, or even silent heart attacks. Sometimes it's the only clue. A headache that becomes a daily ritual could point to a tumor. That gnawing back pain, it might be your kidneys, or your pancreas, or something pressing against your spine from within. We've been taught to push through the pain, to treat it like an obstacle to ignore. But chronic pain isn't just a burden, it's a clue, a breadcrumb leading towards something that needs to be uncovered. Especially when that pain defies explanation, doesn't improve with rest, or keeps getting worse. It doesn't make you weak to investigate pain. It makes you wise. And finally, we arrive at perhaps the most subtle and the most insidious red flag of all. Changes in your mental state. Not the understandable stress of a bad week or the sadness that follows a disappointment. This is deeper. It's the sudden arrival of brain fog, the kind that makes focusing feel like climbing a mountain, the forgetfulness that begins to disrupt your daily life, the depression that appears without a clear trigger, or the anxiety that feels out of proportion to your reality. These changes are often the hardest to recognize, especially in ourselves. We might blame them on aging, or lack of sleep, or just being in a rut. But the brain is an organ like any other, and changes in its function can be the earliest signs of hormonal imbalance, neurological conditions like early-onset dementia, multiple sclerosis, or even brain tumors. Infections, nutritional deficiencies, autoimmune disorders, they can all start in the mind, not the body. If your thoughts begin to feel foreign, if your personality starts to shift, if you suddenly find yourself forgetting names, appointments, or getting lost in familiar places, don't wait for it to get worse. Don't assume it's normal, because while the mind can play tricks, it can also tell truths the body hasn't yet revealed. These 5 red flags, relentless fatigue, changes in bowel habits, unexplained weight loss, persistent pain, and alterations in mental state, are not things to fear. They are things to notice, to take seriously, to explore with curiosity, not shame. Your body is not your enemy. It doesn't speak in words, but it speaks clearly, if you're willing to listen. The mistake so many make is waiting for a sign so loud it's impossible to ignore. But by then, the disease may be deep-rooted. The prognosis may be harder. The treatment, more aggressive. That's why early attention matters, because behind every major health crisis, there were usually small warnings, missed signals, overlooked whispers. You don't need to live in fear of every symptom, but you do need to live in awareness. Learn to recognize what's normal for your body and what isn't. Be skeptical of symptoms that linger. Be cautious of issues that return over and over. And most of all, be proactive. Your health is not a guessing game. It's a responsibility. One that begins with vigilance. The next time your body whispers, listen. The next time something feels off, investigate. Trust your intuition, but verify with science. Seek professional guidance when the signs don't fade. Because when it comes to health, time is often your greatest ally or your worst enemy.